Hi, everyone. This is Del, your host of Del Talk, powered by Kind Lending. Man, I am super pumped to have our guest here today, Jide Buckley, your vice president for West Cap Lending.
Yep.
Thanks for being our guest today, brother.
Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate you being here, man.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you coming in. We just took a tour of the office.
Yep.
What do you think?
Dude, there's so much energy in terms of like the colors. It's so vibrant. Like I feel like you guys are really not afraid just to be you, right? It's a cool company. It's a cool culture.
Yeah, we're not. And this is like the vibe that, Mindy and Glenn really put. As you guys know, we went to his office, check out Mindy's office and Glenn's office. I'm wearing our Kind t-shirt, right? Our culture shirt. So we're excited about that. And I appreciate you coming in because we want to give people, we wish more brokers came to our office. We have a lot of them coming in. But that's what I wanted to, before we sat down, we'll say, hey man, this is us. This is who we are. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you doing it, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah, it's a good vibe. You know what's a good vibe? You're a good vibe, man. That's why you're sitting here with us. We met at several times. We really got to talk at the opening of the branch in Arizona for West Cap, right? Danny and Eric, they're doing a great job. Talk to me how you got, first of all, let's take it way back, right?
Yep.
How'd you get into this industry? Because you're not originally from the US, right?
No.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, crazy story. Absolutely crazy story. It's almost very Wolf of Wall Street like.
Okay. All right.
I was born in New York and I moved to the UK when I was very young.
Yeah.
So I always had my US passport, a US citizen.
Yeah.
And I made the leap, and when I was 24, I was like, okay, let me come back to America and live in California, sunny, the lifestyle, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I came here with no thought that I'd be in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
I just came and I wasn't quite sure of what the plan was, but I knew at least it'd be sunny and nice weather, right? That was kind of where I was at. And while I was in the UK, before I moved to America, I was studying marketing.
Yeah.
And I worked in marketing for a couple of years. I worked for a data company. We helped companies like ESPN, Google, YouTube.
Wow, that's cool.
Gave them all their data, and we had this like boring but syndicated survey. So we'd basically take a survey of, I think it was just over 50,000 people in the country, and then we'd upweight it to the population, and then we'd give them data on these people. It's like brand synergies. How many people would drink Coca-Cola or this or that?
Right.
So I worked in that field. I worked in influencer marketing back in the UK. And when I got to America, I kind of continued that just because it was a natural kind of progression.
Yeah.
And I was working for a marketing agency, middle of the road, wasn't earning a great amount, but it was just kind of passing time.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time was also in marketing, but she was in marketing for a mortgage company. So one day I was sitting in my office, and I get a text from her, and I open up this text, and this text shows a pay stub, and it's just a photo, right? This is the Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
So it's just a photo, and that photo is of a pay stub of one of her colleagues who's a loan officer.
Yeah.
She obviously wasn't a loan officer. She didn't really understand how much they made or any of this stuff. I guess he must have maybe been trying to flirt with her or whatever.
Whatever, just trying to flaunt, trying to flex, right? Yeah.
And she was like, "Can I take a photo?" She sent it to me, and the pay stub said $146,000 for the month.
Wow.
And this was back in 2020 when the rates were down.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, okay. And she replied straight after. She said, "I think you can do this." And I was like, gosh, mortgage isn't my passion. And I never really thought I'd see myself doing it. But gosh, if I could just try it and see if I can achieve those results, maybe we'll see. So it was within that week I left and I moved to that mortgage company and I just tried it out.
And that's it. You got hooked.
Yeah, I got hooked.
That's great, man. So you're recently into the industry, man. And I love to hear this story because, to be honest with you, people don't go into college and say, you know what, I want to be a loan officer. I wanted to work to do loans for a living. They don't. They kind of fall into it. You know what I mean? You're a younger guy. You're doing great. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But I'm glad you're in it, man, because the industry need new blood. They need new looks. They need new identities to build this industry, man, because it's almost like a little bit stuffy at times, right? So that's what I think the industry needs. So I'm glad you're in it, man, because you do a lot of different stuff on social media too, right?
Yeah. I think that ends up being my main forte.
Yeah. How do you, because you're in it with your group and you're with West Cap, you have a lot of teams, right? You have teams in different parts of the country too, right? So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's the power of social media.
Yeah.
I moved to West Cap, so I became a broker and understood the power now of being able to, offer your clients more working with companies like Kind,
being
able to deliver them better service, better rates. And I just articulated that on social media. So I posted a couple of Instagram stories. I didn't go over the top. I just said, look, this is what we do. If you're interested, reach out.
Awesome.
And very blessed, had a few people from other states who are fantastic loan officers, absolutely incredible. Reach out and say, look, I like this idea. They're working in a retail model where they weren't benefiting from being able to, give their clients decent rates and look after them in the way that they could. And I showed them how it worked. And I didn't even have to try and sell it. They just were like, let's jump on board. So now we have guys in Florida and in Texas. So
in Florida and Texas.
The team's growing.
We were talking about that today. And your Instagram is the Mortgage Kitchen, right? Is that what it is? Yeah. And like, I see all the content you do, and it's great, man. And I think a lot of people don't do enough of that. I talk about it in all of our Del Talks. Right? We're like, how do you use social media to grow your business, et cetera? But man, you got it down, right? Like, what are some things, if I'm a loan officer listening to this, and it's like, what are some things that sets you apart, you think, when you do your media posts? Because you have a ton of followers, you talk about your day too, right? It's not just that. So what are some things that people should be focused on when they're doing that, man?
Honestly, it's all about disproportionate value.
Yeah.
The way that social media works is if you're on it, you're giving someone, whoever that piece of content is created by, you're giving that person 60 seconds of your time.
Yeah.
So if I, as the creator, myself as the loan officer, can deliver you a piece of value that helps you save $10,000 in 60 seconds, that's a pretty good use of your 60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about as much value as you can pack into as little amount of time. And that's why I call it disproportionate value. So every single piece of my content, when people see it show up, they know it's going to be something that could be hugely impactful to them.
Yeah.
How they can buy a $500,000 home with less than $20K cash, or how they can save $15,000 by doing X, Y, and Z, or take $500 off their mortgage payment. These are really huge things that they can achieve.
Quick tips
in 60 seconds. It's like at that point, it's doing good business for them, because it makes sense now to watch my content because they're getting so much value and they're giving so little time.
And you talked about like data, so you kind of have a marketing background, right? Which is great, and I think it's definitely something that more people need when they get into the industry. Where have you seen like marketing? I love that you say the data, because this industry is turning into more data, right? Like I can tell you what loans you do without you telling me, where you send them, et cetera, right? Lenders have that. But like, where have you seen marketing in the industry change, right? Because I feel like it's shifted a little bit to more to a personal touch before than just like a commercial, because you share stuff about your day. Your content's legit, man. I love it. And
Thank you.
And so you share stuff about your day. So where have you seen the shift happening with that? Have you seen a shift?
Yeah, I think the shift was when I first started on social, talking specifically about mortgages. The information was what carried the content.
Yeah.
So it was almost like it's very similar to Google. Right? If you Google something like how do I do this, that was the content that we were creating back in the day.
That's
and
right.
It was very bland, and it was, here's how you can do this, or this is this. Now that content does work. Educational content's helpful. But now with the advent of ChatGPT, AI, all these things, it's like you can pull that out of your pocket and get all that information in seconds. So what's the difference now? What's the difference between me as an educator and ChatGPT or Google? The difference is that I have an opinion.
That's right.
So my opinion is now what's valuable. So if I share a piece of information, great, that's the first layer. The second layer now in social is, well, what do you think about it? You're in the business, you're a loan officer. Like, what's your opinion on down payment assistance programs? Or what's your opinion on putting less money down and leveraging more? Like, that's what people want. They want the expert. They want the person behind the information, not just the information. No.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it, because you're right. I can look at ChatGPT, and you can do a lot of crazy stuff. Like my daughters, I have 4 kids. We were talking about that earlier, and they're like, Dad, I just created like why I feel that I should go to college to this university. I'm like, you did that? It was like a why should you go to TCU, or why should you go to whatever, San Diego State? And it is, the technology is crazy, man. But you're right, it's the opinion. Like basically you're subject matter expert. How do you keep up on everything? How do you keep up on guidelines? Like, how do you keep up on that?
It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's research. It's a bunch of research. I probably spend about 3 to 4 hours every day just researching. And this is looking at general news, what's going on in the market. Looking at guidelines, like you said, trying to pick holes in things just to find something of value, because that's what all my content's about. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's research.
What do you think, kind of shifting a little bit, like, where do you see, like, yourself, like, and you're an originator, right? You have a whole team of that. Where do you see, like, this going in the industry over the next couple of years? Because I feel like there's a little bit of shift, like more people are doing, there's a lot of artificial intelligence out there. As an originator that has teams all over the country, you probably look at it, you're like, this is what I want to focus with my business to help them grow. What do you see it? Where do you see this going?
I see this being much less transactional than it has been in the past. Because I think what a lot of mortgage has been is, okay, what rate can I get? 30-year fix. This is the rate. This is the thing. Great. Thanks for the loan estimate. The client's going to take your LE and shop it around.
Yeah, shop it around.
That's the game.
Yeah.
I think moving forward with AI and with technology improving to such levels, it's like, I don't really see that that's going to be the unique selling point for any loan officer anymore, because people are able to pull rates in seconds now. They're able to, like, they're able to shop around much faster, right? So I think what's going to be the differentiator for a lot of LOs now is the adjacent things that you can offer as a loan officer. So, your connections to maybe financial planners or financial planners, CPAs, tax advisors, CPAs. It could also be your network, and then also your strategy as far as, okay, helping them understand what their game plan is on this purchase, and then putting together a 5-10 year plan, annual reviews. It's like, now the service quality has to go up because technology has improved. High tech, low touch was never going to work, because high tech, low touch is basically like, you go online, just input some information, and there you go, you're working with an online lender. High tech has to be matched with high touch, which is getting way more in the weeds and being a huge element to someone's financial plan.
Kind of like their life coach almost in a way, right? Like their financial life coach, their subject matter expert. And I think that's what is, I think I know that's what's lacking right now, because I think so many people are like, I talk to loan officers all over the country, right? And broker owners are like, well, Del, we want to use Kind, but you guys have to be number one on price. And I'm like, well, sometimes, I could be number one in the morning, but rates change in the afternoon. There's a lot of things that can happen. And more, what my dream is, man? My dream is this. Back in the day, people used to buy a house, and, some people do it now still, but like the originator would go to the signing desk, walk, the signing, all that. Some people still do it now, but it was more like you stuck with that loan officer for your entire financial career, right? Like, my parents use the same guy, like I use the same guy, right? A little, and nowadays, like you said, it can be more of LE, take it from this office to this office, and what it can be. And I really do hope and pray that, and I feel like it will be, that it's going to be like you said, because it has to be, man. It has to be.
You know what? I think there's two elements there that can make that a reality again. The first is trust. I think in this industry, a lot of consumers don't trust us.
That's right.
Innately, there's this lack of trust. So I think that needs to be rebuilt, which is where you're coming from. You're like, I've known this one guy forever.
I've known him forever. I trust him. Yeah.
So I think that's one element. And I think another element, really sadly, is it's just the market. As much as maybe you want to work with someone, if rates are where they are right now and affordability is where it is right now, it's very difficult to afford a home, and the payment as it is always going to be on the higher end of what you're comfortable with.
What you're expecting or comfortable with. That's right. Yeah,
you're going to love the loan officer you work with, but when you see that initial disclosures package, and you see the monthly payment all in PITI, you're looking at it, you're like, gosh, man, I really love Del, but I can't afford this payment. And that's where that lack of loyalty is going to come in now. They're going to start moving around. Not because of you, just because of the way the market is.
The market is, And are you seeing, I know it's in different states, right? But I was talking to a loan officer yesterday in Tennessee, and he's like, Del, like the houses here, the 300 to 500 range is like a bidding war again, like no matter what rates are. Are you seeing that with your customers yet, or not yet? Because you're all over. You see it, for property purchases.
Right now in LA, I have one client. He's actually one of my best friend's brothers.
Nice.
He's a doctor.
Right.
Super well qualified.
Yeah.
Like, guy, he has he's just the most perfect borrower. But he hasn't had any luck. And he's looking at these properties that need, have loads of unpermitted work, all this type of thing.
Like needs a little love.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think they'd be having offers. But he's not getting anything accepted.
Dang.
So, Yeah, I'm seeing that right now, even in higher cost areas.
Well, the LA fires, I think, kind of changed that a little bit too, right? Like there's less markets in there, but even in high cost areas, last week, actually, one of our AEs in San Francisco, we were talking about him with him, and he's like, Del, like it's turning into a bidding war. And I was like, I just talked to somebody in Tennessee, same thing. So I think it's happening all over. Let's go back a little bit, man. Let's go back a little bit. So we got into the industry and where you're from, but I think as the industry tends to evolve. What do you think it needs? Not from a lender aspect. Do you think that being involved in groups are important? Like we're involved with AIM, we're involved with NAM, we're involved with a lot of different groups, right? I think those type of industry led by brokers, is really important to the industry, right? Are you familiar? You're familiar, obviously, with AIM and those guys.
Yeah.
How important do you think those are in the industry nowadays?
Hugely important.
Hugely, yeah, that's right.
I think if you can create culture,
that's right,
that leads the industry in a better direction, I think that's really, really crucial now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these communities or groups are gonna have certain cultures that underpin everything that they value, right? So for me, like, I'm not trying to plug it, but I put a little community together for loan officers and agents.
That's awesome.
And the whole culture that underpins it is just knowledge and education.
Yep.
It's empowering people. It's empowering homeowners or home buyers to actually just make their decision on their own and feel like they've got the tools to actually want to move forward, regardless as to whether they work with you or not.
That's right.
But if you're that person who empowers them, then boom, they're going to want to work with you.
That's right.
So every community is going to have its own culture. There are lots of sales related communities who are going to be heavy, like sales persuasion tactics, which is amazing.
Right.
I think that's super awesome.
Yeah.
It's just really about aligning with what you need, right? If you're lacking on the sales front, maybe you join that type of community or culture. If you want to improve your knowledge base to get that confidence to talk to people, join something like what we're doing. But yeah, I think being in the industry, it's a 1v1 game.
Yeah.
So there's that competitive edge, which leads to a lot of loneliness.
Yeah, it could be. It's true.
If you're on your own, man, you're on an island, and especially when rates are high and clients are, moving around in different ways. It's good to have a community of others who you can see in the same spot and you can all grow together. Yeah,
I think the reason I bring it up, Jonathan, I've gotten to know Jonathan, CEO of AIM, right, really well. And man, like what he's doing, what that group is doing, and is extraordinary, man. What they're doing, building relationships, and you're right. Like being an originator, you're kind of on yourself a little bit, right? Like you're competing against the guy sitting next to you, the gal sitting next to you at the same time. But I really believe that's why I brought it up, because I really believe like organizations like AIM, like NAM, all these are good for our industry, and they need to be. I want to be more involved with them. We want to be more involved. We need to be more involved with them. And I think it's important. I've seen that shift, right? There's always been a good piece of originators that go to these events and want to be a part of it. But now more than ever, I feel like the industry needs to get people like you involved more. Jonathan's doing a great job of traveling the country, spreading the word about AIM. So we're excited about that. But I wanted to bring that up because as I mentioned this several times, but I talk to a lot of people. My wife's like, man, you're on the phone all the time, right? And I like to learn about not only how we can be valuable, but what can the industry do to be valuable, man, And so that's why I wanted to bring that up. But I didn't know about your group, man. Tell me about your group. That's awesome. Let's talk about that. I didn't have a year, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. I put it together about a year and a half ago now as a beta test. So I thought, okay, let me see, because every day as I mentioned, I'm spending 3-4 hours a day just researching guidelines, news, all this stuff. And I'm putting it together into a 1-minute long video on social media, which has proved done very well for me, and my content's doing really well.
Nice.
But it's like 1 minute, and I'm like, I've just learned all this stuff for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Let me figure out another way for me to share this, because I've got more than a minute's worth of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. If I put together a community, a small group of people, and it starts off with like 20 agents.
Yeah.
And I share just some of the stuff I'm researching and learning, maybe some other people find it valuable.
Nice.
And I did some weekly calls, just checking in and sharing some things I learned.
Yeah.
And this year, January, I decided to take it seriously, and I made it open to, anyone who wants to join. Nice. And we've got about 100 members now.
Wow.
In the community, which is great.
What's it called? What's it called?
Buckley and Brokers.
Buckley and Brokers. I like it. Is it like it's a session that they join online, or what? Like, so you get them together?
Yeah, you join online. You get access to the community.
Okay.
There's online courses on there. So they're self-paced, kind of like masterclass type feel.
Okay.
I've put a social media one on there, which is
nice.
kind of my thing.
Your thing, yeah.
We've got a course on motivation and staying alert and on top of things as an LO or as an agent.
Yeah.
We have another course on Airbnb, short-term rentals, so you can educate your clients on how to do that. Yeah. Loads of courses. We have live calls every week. So we had a really awesome another influencer on yesterday on our live call.
Yeah.
At least one a week. We have goal setting, accountability, training and tools, resources. It's just like a one-stop shop.
Do you have guests join?
Yeah, we have guests pretty much every week.
So Glenn, you're watching this. Glenn, I'm going to commit you to this. All right. So, so you should have Glenn on.
I would love to have Glenn on. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So we'll get Glenn on there for you. There you go, Glenn. So giving him a plug too, but he'd be great for that.
Yeah.
He would be great for that. He does a lot of that now. He's actually in Australia speaking to a convention for mortgage people right now. So
I would be honored for him to speak to my group of 100. That would be absolutely amazing.
Should do that. We should do that. We love to support our brokers any way we can. I'm happy for you, man. So a year and a half you've been doing that.
Yep.
And do you ever get them together in person?
Yes, I had an in-person event 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
in Claremont to launch the Airbnb course.
Oh, nice. How many people attended?
So we had 350 people.
Wow.
RSVP.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And then on the day we had pretty much torrential rain.
Yeah.
It was that like.
Oh yeah, when we had storms. Yeah.
We had the storms and we had winds and it was 40 degrees.
Oh shit.
So we had to last minute get a tent.
Yeah.
And we
made it happen.
We were standing in his garden because it was hosted at his Airbnb.
Uh-huh.
So that people could see the end product, how it's done. And we were standing in the garden, and I was just like, "Look, if we get 50 people, this will be great."
Yeah.
Ended up having 200 people come out in the rain and the cold.
Wow, that's good. That's a lot of value. So people saw value in it, man.
It was amazing.
That's awesome, man. What are some lessons you've learned in a year and a half of putting that together? Right, like you must have gone through some lessons in that.
Yeah,
right?
I think you always expect it to be easier than it will be.
Yeah.
Engagement is always difficult.
Yeah.
Getting people to actually buy into something is never going to be straightforward, because as much as we love what we're doing,
right,
if what you're offering necessarily isn't what someone needs, if someone doesn't need education, you can't force it on them.
Yeah, you
really just have to find your tribe. And it will come.
Finding your tribe's important, man.
Yeah.
So that's funny. I'll just mention this, Ricky. You brought up a point about tribe. Like a lot of the group of people here have been working together for a long time, right? And we've been blessed to have new folks come into our tribe, right? Like I say, so like for example, the executive team, the majority, I think 90% of us have been with Glenn for an average of 15. Yvonne, our president, she's been here with him for over 20. Right.
Amazing.
And I'm really proud of this. I'm going to say this because we've had people that have come from different companies, right, and have really acclimated well into what we do here. The culture's different, right? We're here to all work together. There's no egos at all. Like you check that at the door, right? Like everybody's here to work together. But yesterday we had somebody come in and I met with some other people, and he was like, "Man, I will tell you guys, we see you guys on social media. We see you in different parts of the country at events." He's like, "You guys are the real deal." Nice. And we don't do this Del Talk stuff and all the marketing stuff just for us. We do it so people can understand our culture, man, and the people we are. Because I think that you see stuff on social media sometimes or whatever, and like your stuff, that's what I saw you, my man. Your stuff's legit. Like you're original. You're who you are. Your content is clean. It's crisp. It's perfect, right? And that's what we try to do. And so we try to surround ourselves, like our tribe, with like the people that have the same culture, because let's be honest with you, you might meet people that might have different sets of values. You guys just might not align. And so I think, I'm so happy that you're doing that, man, because you're kind of spreading how you envision the mortgage industry and add value and kind of creating your own tribe. So I'm happy for you on that, man. I didn't know that. So yeah, that's cool, man. That's real cool. Let's talk about something else. We have a couple more minutes. You're cool on time right now,
I'm in no rush.
Yeah. So let's talk about something else. So as we were talking, you know what I mean? We connected with Aram, right? Aram's like, "Oh, you need to come over and talk to Jide." And I'm like, "Yeah." So we talked for a minute there. How important is the power of the connection? Like referring people and like saying, "Hey, I vouch for Jide. He's a good dude. Glenn, you got to be in his group, right? Like, how important is that nowadays?
It's this important.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be here without
we wouldn't be here. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Yeah,
fully.
Yeah.
You know, I think in this day and age, because I think naturally, if you look at things like social media, social media is amazing, right? You can have lots of connections, but there's no depth in the connection. So as much as someone can be 500,000 followers and this and that, that wouldn't have got me on this podcast with you, right? Yeah. What got me was Aram's faith and belief in me as a person and his recommendation. Yeah. And the depth of relationship you have leveraged this connection because he vouched for me, you know? Yeah. I think what I first made the mistake of is social media went crazy for me and it did really well. Yeah. But I made lots of small connections or lots of acquaintances, but not very many deep, true relationships and connections. And that's why I'm trying to do the community. That's why I'm trying to get more in person and meet people, because I actually think besides being on the camera or besides being some type of anything, outside, you know, you could try and be this big thing, but the depth of connection is what's going to have people move mountains for you.
That's right.
You know, like, you're gonna go above and beyond if me and you truly know each other and you're like, you know, I vouch for it. Yeah. So I really see the value in it.
That's funny you say that. Yesterday, somebody called me, and I started to develop a relationship with him over the last probably 7-8 months, right? And he had a situation where a file that we had some questions in the file, whatever, right? And he called me and he's like, "Hey, Del, I never call you. Can you actually help me with this? I got a question, this and that." The AE was doing a fabulous job. The RVP, the divisionals, everybody's doing great. But like, he's like, "I would never have thought to call you to ask you for help on this if I didn't get to know you over the last 6 months." And it was a big deal. It was his top agent, his top loan officer. It was connected to 3 different deals. And he called me, and I was sitting in that conference room we walked by, and I walked right over to Pam's office. That's right here, our SVP of credit. And I said, "Listen, like, I trust these guys. They're going to do what they're going to say they're going to do. Let's do it." And he said that. He's like, "Wow." He's like, "If I didn't know you, I wouldn't have thought to pick up the phone and feel confident on the request." And man, loans are getting harder. They're not getting easier sometimes, you know, and it's so important to have that connection. That's why I brought it up, man. Like, I think the value add, like, I'm taking a lot of nuggets from this, right? I think God, we're recording this, but the value of getting away from the transaction, the relationship, you bringing value to the group you're doing is important.
Dude, I want to shout out right now, Fuzz and Darcy.
Yeah, but I was just talking about Fuzz and Darcy. Let's talk about Fuzz and Darcy. Yes, let's talk about them.
Dude,
yeah.
They have been unbelievably instrumental in my team's success.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I think what we require, a lot of the loan officers on my team, they have great relationships with agents and builders. And any small mistake in a relationship with them can cost you the whole relationship.
That's right.
So it's not like an individual client. It's not like a quick refi. This is years worth of time and effort that you have to build to actually cultivate that.
The trust.
So as we started working the kinks out in our team, it just ended up being the main resource for us, purely because Darcy and Fuzz made such an effort to keep the communication so high. And they're there anytime. And I literally called Fuzz yesterday and I was like, "Dude, we had a deal. One of the loan officers on my team, we moved it to Kind, and it was 6 days. We have 6 days to close it." And he's like, "All right, let's go." Like, it's different, you know? So I value that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. But we value the account executive here tremendously. All right. There is we're in business to business sales, right? Like, we're in selling to people that are running a business, you know, loan officers. But the reality is that we're in the relationship business first.
Yeah.
That's the reality, man. And that's that like, for the trust, Fuzz and Darcy are some of our best account executives. Natalie, who's the RVP that supports you guys, Jason, Kim Lindano on her team, our operations team, like, all of us have the same kind of mindset, the culture fit, like 6 days, you know, let's see if we can do it. Right. But, you know, I think that one of the most beautiful things about our industry is that relationship of an AE. You have a great account executive, that great connection, man. It makes a difference. So shout out to Fuzz and Darcy, right? Thank you guys for being awesome. We have a couple more minutes left. So let's talk about this real quick. So I'm a big person on kind of routines, man. Like, I got my routine in the morning, right? Like, try to get up, you know, I'm a 4 a.m. guy, right? Go for a walk. I used to go directly from my bed to the desk, right? But now I'm getting up, mixing it up a little bit. What's your routine in the morning, man? Do you have a routine or what? What do you do? How do you stay fresh?
I do. I mean, I can't say I'm perfect every morning.
Yeah, nobody
but I'll tell
is.
you my routine in general is I wake up about 6:15 a.m.
Yep.
I usually get anywhere between 6 and 7 hours worth of sleep. I track my sleep on this sleep.
What is that? What do you got there?
It's a Whoop band.
Okay.
So I try to track it just to keep myself accountable, because I will stay up late at night and work. I think a good morning routine starts with actually getting to sleep at a normal time. For me, 6 or 7 hours is fine. I'll wake up, I'll go straight outside, I'll do breathing. So I do some breathing techniques. I always feel very dizzy after doing my breathing techniques, but it's this feeling of like euphoric. Right?
That's awesome.
So I'll kind of get awake, and that will help to kind of prime me. And then as soon as I've done my breathing techniques, I have a surround sound speaker.
Nice.
I have a 1 hour and a half manifestation track that I put on.
That's cool.
And I've listened to this now since 2019. And I just have it on repeat. It's got this cool little jazz music in the background.
Nice.
It's not like monotonous or anything. It's easy to listen to. I just have it playing in the background, not too loud. And I'll get about my day. I'll jump straight into a coffee, move over to my desk, start working. That's pretty much it. And then I'll hit gym after about an hour, 2 hours after working.
Wow.
Just to refresh my mind again, jump back in. And
I never used to be like the meditation guy, right? Like, I think it's when people used to say, hey, Del, you used to meditate, you need to, I'm like, come on, get out of here with that. It is the most important part of my life now.
Nice.
It is one of the most, and I try to tell all my kids about it. I think that if you look at what people are doing successfully, they do something like you're doing, even if it's 10, 15 minutes of quiet time, breathing exercises, all that. I think we run in such a hard run. We're in a hard business. We're doing a lot of personalities, and the mentals are super important. Right. The mindset is super important, man. So I never used to believe in it till around that time when you did, like 2019, 2018. I think it's super important to the day, to give yourself even like I was talking to an originator, and he takes he does like an 84-hour fasting. Have you heard of that? Like,
wow,
they don't fast for like 84 hours of broth and water. So he's like, a big part of what I do is I reset my body and I meditate like a good 2 hours within that block. I'm like, 2 hours is a long time to sit there for me personally, right? But like, I think it's such an important part of our bodies, man.
Dude, it's your mind showing your body who's boss.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Powerful, dude.
It's powerful, man. It's powerful. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you, man. This has been a fun episode. We're actually here in the office, so I'm really excited about this. I all the insights that you shared with us are great. I'm excited to have Glenn on your with your sales team. What it's called, remind me again.
Buckley and Brokers.
Buckley and Brokers. Yep. So look for that, guys. Buckley and Brokers. Is there like an Instagram for it? Or do you have
Buckley Brokers is the Instagram.
Buckley Brokers.
If you go to mine, it's in my bio too.
It's in your bio. Okay, cool. Well, listen, Jide, it's been a pleasure, brother. I appreciate you so much, man. This has been fun. We got to have you back on again. So thank you, everybody, for watching today. If you want to hear more about our episodes of Del Talk, visit us at kindlending.com. This has been fun. It's been a great episode. The energy's been great, man. I love it. So thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon, everyone.